Hello, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 1, Solving Problems with Addition and Subtraction. Lesson 10. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you did a lot of practical learning, seeing how solving financial maths problems can be applied in different contexts. In today's lesson, you're going to learn solving problems involving tables and timetables. So in maths, there are different forms of tables. Even your calendar is a table. Did you know that? Calendar is in a tabular form. You would see train timetables. You would see distance, tables on a map. So we're going to be looking at all of that and learning how to interpret those tables and timetables. Before we start, do not forget support our mission of educating the global population of children who can't really afford to have a private maths teacher or to have a high quality maths education. So, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click on the notification bell. Thank you for doing us this favor. Before we start, I would like you to do the retrieval practice questions in 3 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the retrieval practice questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you were asked how many minutes are there between 12:45 and 13:12? Okay, between 12:45 and 13:12, it is 27 minutes. Why? Between 12:45 and 1300 hours, it is 15 minutes. Okay, 45 to 60 is 15. And then from 1300 to 12 past 13, yeah, or 13:12, that's 12 minutes. So 15 at 12 is 27. Next, you ask, how many minutes are there in 3.5 hours? So 1 hour is 60 minutes. So 3 hours will be 60 times 3, which is 180. Half an hour is 30. 180 plus 30 is 210 minutes. Next, you ask, how many Tuesdays are there in July? 4 or 5, depending on the year. Okay? So if it's a leap year, we'll have 4 or 5. So it depends on the year. All right, let's do some new learning. Now, take a really good look at this. This is a calendar, isn't it? Now, if you look at it carefully, we can begin to make some really useful statements about this calendar. For example, we can say about that date that is highlighted that the first Monday is April. The first Monday in April is Monday, 6th April. Yeah. So we can begin to make statements like that. We can also say the second Monday in April is Monday, 13th April. We can also say the third Monday in April is Monday, 20th April. And we can also say the fourth Monday in April is Monday, 27th April. What about Thursday? What can you say about this date? So countdown, you will see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can say the 23rd April is the fourth Thursday in April. So by now, you know how to read a calendar. Of course, you may have known it. If not, then this is a good point at which you can really practice knowing how to read your calendar. All right, let me ask you this. Have a think. What day of the week was 4th May 2020? Well, the calendar does not have May, but we can begin to think, what 4th May could be, because here would be first. So the next day of the week will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that will be first, second, third. Of course, 4th will be Monday. So Monday will be the 4th of May 2020. Okay, so we now know one of the forms of table we know how to read is the calendar. So we now going to learn about how to read distance tables. Yeah, distance tables. Now, this is a simple graph that shows distance between UK cities in miles. How do we read these? If we're asked, how far is it from Aberdeen to Leeds? The way this works is we'll go down the column where Aberdeen is, and we'll go across from where Leeds is. Where they meet is, yeah, we'll go from where Leeds is, sorry, here, we'll go from where Leeds is, and then where they meet is the distance between Aberdeen and Leeds. So that's 355 miles. Next question, how far is it from Truro to Cambridge? You try this one. Right. I'm sure you did this. So you can see Cambridge is there and Truro is there. So where they meet, you look down the column of Cambridge and you look down the row of Truro. Where they meet is 343 miles. Okay. Next, which two cities are closest to each other? Again, if you look carefully, you will see the smallest number there is 149. Okay, so the cities where that number links is Cambridge and Leeds. Okay, so Cambridge and Leeds. All right, so you now know how to read your calendar, which is a form of table. You also now know how to read your distance table. It's now time for you to do some practice. So pause the video and answer question 1 in 3 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 1, here are the answers. You can mark your work and celebrate your success. Really well done. Okay. Here is number 2, reading a distance table. So pause the video and answer these questions in 5 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So this is for 2A and B. So mark your work. So you can see the two places that are furthest apart are, I think the largest number here is that one. Yeah, you can see it's Aberdeen and, yeah, Aberdeen and Dover. You see that? So that number meets with these two places. And then which two places are closest to each other? You look for the smallest number. Yeah, and you see it's Bristol and Exeter. Okay. All right, here are the answers for the others. Mark your work and celebrate your success. Really well done for working hard. All right, pause the video and answer question 3 in 3 minutes. So here you ask, the diagram shows the distance between some of the junctions on the M1 motorway, right? I'm sure you know the M1 motorway in England. You ask, use the diagram to complete this table. Okay, so if you use the diagram, so from junction 17 to junction 18, so junction 17 to junction 18, you can see that is 3 kilometers. All right, so here are the answers. You can mark your work, celebrate your success. All right, next one. Here is some information about a group of 100 students. Complete the two-way table. Now, we're now doing some new learning. There is another form of table in maths called two-way tables. Why do we call it two-way tables? We have information on the table in two parts. So you have here, you can see we're talking about the sex of the people, male or female. And here we have something else. It could be talking about the food they ate, glasses, or whether they have pets or not. So it always puts information in two separate groups. That's why we call it two-way tables. Now, the way to do two-way tables is you read the question carefully and you start to put numbers where they should go. So here we're told this is a group of 100 students. Now, this is everybody, so it has to go here. So the total, you see, going down where the total is and going down along the row where this total is and down the column where the total is, 100 should be there. And the way we work with two-way tables is we start with the one that has just one of the figures missing. So in this case, it has to be this box here. Now, to get that value, we know 45 add something that is missing will give us 100. So to get this, we have to do 100 minus 45. That's 55. Now, someone else could have started here, right? There's more than one way of doing two-way tables, but you always start with the one that has one value missing. So instead of doing this one, someone else could have done this one, right? You say, okay, 28, add the number of females will give me 45. So I need to do 45 subtract 28 to give me 17. Now that I have this one, I can now work this one out because 17 adds something we don't know will give us 53. So to get this, we can do 53 subtract 17, which gives us that. Now we have this one missing. So we can say, well, something here at 36 will give us 55. But we don't know what that thing is. So to get that value, we can do 55 subtract 36, which gives us that value. Oh, this one is what is done. So 100 minus 53 will give us this one. And then we do the last one. Okay? So that's how we work with two-way tables. Now, if you've completed two-way tables, something else you could get is you could be asked questions about the two-way table. So you're being asked, how many females do not wear glasses? So you go to no glasses, you trace all the way down the row and down the column for female, and you see your value is 36. So 36 female do not wear glasses. It's now time for you to practice what you've learned. We have just learned about two-way tables. So here you go. So pause the video and answer questions 4 and 5 in 4 minutes. So assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 4 and 5, here are the answers. You can mark your work and celebrate your success. Really well done. So I'm sure you now see how we complete two-way tables. Next, we're going to do some new learning about train timetables. Train timetables. Now, when we look at the train timetable, we can begin to extract some information from it. So for train timetable, this shows that at 8:10, the train leaves Birmingham, stops at Rugby at 8:41, picks a few passengers or drops a few passengers who are going from Birmingham to Rugby, moves on, stops at Milton Keynes, another station, at 9:02, stops at 9:16 at Watford, and then finally London at 9:33. But what do you think about this one? So that's what it does, yeah? All right, what I just explained just now. But what about this one? Now, this train does not stop at Rugby. It just goes through that station. So I'm sure you may have noticed this when you go to some when you go to a train station, you'll see that the trains do not stop. Some of the trains just go past at, high speed through the station. So they are not meant to stop at that station. So this train only stops at Milton Keynes at 09:49. So if you were going to maybe stop at Rugby, you wouldn't take this train, would you? Because the only place you'll be able to stop is Milton Keynes. You're going to have to now stop at Milton Keynes, get off the train, and look for another train that will take you to Rugby, right? Maybe you'll have to now take these trains, which means you'll be late. Yeah. So you see? So the train goes through Rugby, stops at Milton Keynes, goes through Watford, and stops at London. Right. Let's have a think of some of the things we can do with our understanding of how train timetables work. What time does the 10:01 from Rugby arrive at Watford? So again, you go to the table, 10:01 at Rugby, it arrives at Watford at 10:36. And that's our answer. How long does it take to travel from Birmingham to Watford? You go to your table. So from Birmingham to Watford, from 8:10 to 9:16. So we're going to have to work it out using our timeline. You remember from our previous lesson? So if we say 1 hour travel from 8:10 to 9:10, because remember we've got to get to 9:16, will be 1 hour. And then from 9:10 to 9:16 will be 6 minutes. So actually, he traveled in 1 hour, 6 minutes. All right. It's now time for you to do the rest practice questions. Well done for sticking around and for learning. So pause the video and answer question 6 in 3 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the question, here are the answers. Mark your work and celebrate your success. So let's just talk about this one. How many of the trains go all the way from St. Pancras to Gravesend? All the way from St. Pancras to Gravesend is 3. So this one does not get to Gravesend, sorry. This one does not get there. So there are only 3 trains. That one, and that one. So if you were going to Gravesend, you won't be taking these trains. Otherwise, you won't get to your destination. The train will only stop at Ashford. Yeah. So the names of these places are all places in England. For those of you watching this video and wondering, what is he talking about? What are the names of these places? So they are all places in England. Next, you ask, how long does the 0640 take to get from St. Pancras to Ashford? It's 39 minutes. So the 0640 from St. Pancras to Ashford. So 6:40 to 7 o'clock is 20 minutes, right? And then 20 add 19, because from 7 to 7:19 is 90 minutes, is 39 minutes. Okay, and that's the answer for the other one. All right, pause the video and answer question 7 in 3 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you ask, in this timetable, all the trains stop at every station and the times taken between stations does not change. Fill in the missing information, right? So here are the answers. Yeah. So you're being asked, train stops at every station and the times taken between stations does not change. So you just use this information to get the other ones. Yeah. So here we know it's 22 minutes. So from 8:30, right? 22 minutes from 8:30, that will be 8:50. So if you add 22 to that, that will be 52. So every time you add in 22 minutes. Just looking at this one that you got here, even this one, you see that's 22 minutes difference. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. So what have we learned so far? You have learned that With your knowledge, you can now interpret the different tables you will find in maths. You'll find calendars, you'll find distance tables, so tables showing distance between places. You'll find two-way tables, okay? And you'll find train timetables, right? So what it takes is practice. When you practice, you get better at it and you understand a lot more how to read these tables. Well done for sticking around and for learning. Until next time, take care of yourself and bye-bye.